Welcome! I'm Jade of Jaded Reader, and today is the beginning of a brand new reading month. Welcome to September. I'm super excited. The weather just changed for me, for everyone. I was really excited to wake up today to cloudy skies, chilly breezes, and I was able to throw on a sweater. So for me, today has already been a win, and I get to finally, it was a little aggressive, I get to finally start my TBR. If you don't know my TBR, this is not the video for you. You can go ahead and watch that video up there, or possibly link down below. Don't know what me in the future is doing. I'm not gonna go into my TBR in detail here. This video I'd like to use for my initial reactions in reading the first chapter because I honestly don't know where to start. And to be fully transparent, I watched Soleil from Little Readers Corner's video last month, which is super cozy. Definitely check that out. But I watched her video where she was doing a try the chapter tag, and it looks like so much fun that I figured that's how I would start my TBR this month because, again, I could start any of these. I also don't know too much about them. It would also make me feel very accomplished right off the bat because at least one chapter is done out of all of these books. Not listed here is the Icosar Falcon by K.S. Viciloso. That is the second in the Wolf of Oran Yarrow series, but I'm listening to that on audiobook. I also won't be starting that in this stack because I only have it on audiobook and I know I'll be listening to it tonight. It'll be the book I listen to right before bed or as I go to sleep, and that's just how that's going to go. To give a rundown of the books on my TBR without much context besides their names, we have Kindred by Octavia Butler, The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw, The Foxhole Court by Nora Sokovic, Son of the Storm by Sui Davies Unkambawa, The Beautiful by Renee Adia, Tuesday Mooney Talks to Ghosts, this is by Kate Reculia, and The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. I'm not really going to go in any specific order here. This one's on top. Let's go ahead and start with The Foxhole Court. I don't know much of anything about this. It was sent to me from Katie's Book Nook in an unhaul she did, so while it wasn't for her, it might be for me, and we'll go ahead and find that out. So I'm just going to read the first chapter of this, chill out on this couch, you're gonna watch me montage, and then I'll give my thoughts. Without further ado, let's get comfy. I just used a Crayola color crayon to mark the page of my book. So I finished the first chapter of this. It was 14 pages and it took me about, I think, 25 minutes or so. It's a contemporary fiction, so there weren't any words that I really stumbled across, which is nice dyslexia wise. But Foxhole Court, first thoughts. Okay, so the first thing I noticed is that the sport that I did not know what it was, like I was trying to figure out what the sport was when trying to talk about this book originally, it's a fake sport. So I feel a little bit better about myself and the fact that this sport does not actually exist. It's called Exie and it's a cross between rugby and lacrosse. It's supposed to be a high contact, aggressive sport. I will not be able to tell you if this is a realistic portrayal of a sport or not because I'm not a sports person. I was a little thrown off by the characters displayed. Small glimpse I got of our cast of characters, they're all a little rough around the edges, which I think is the point, and I'm interested in seeing that found family dynamic as well as the sports dynamic because those can be two very different things, and I think that this will be more found family than sports team, which is cool. One of the adult characters kind of threw me off, so there was like a unbelievable moment where I'm like, why would this happen? How is this happening this way? The school system has failed these people, but also that's pretty realistic, so I don't know. I liked the start of it. I am compelled, I'm intrigued, but I want to keep going. Next up is Kindred by Octavia Butler. What I know going into this is that it takes place or was written in, or not mutually exclusive, possibly both, 1970 or so, and that this main character is transported into the antebellum South, and she is a black character, so there are lots of hardships and troubles. I'm guessing that it's going to go into that, and this is just such a highly praised book. I keep thinking there is a dark figure in the background when I'm looking at the camera. It's like the cliche coat rack, but I might like crop this in because I cannot look away from it. It makes me feel like there's an actual person behind me. I just had to double check. Feel embarrassed that I haven't read this yet because it is so highly praised by so many people I respect. It looks like there is a prologue before the main chapter, so I will go ahead and read both the prologue and the first chapter, so a total of about 17 pages. To just say I finished the prologue, and honestly if I was just reading the prologue this would make me want to continue. I am both alarmed and intrigued, and this was just a really good prologue. I got enough to not be just confused, not enough of the context to feel like I could set it down, and I'm so glad that I said I was going to read the first chapter along with the prologue because I would have done it anyway. Chapter 1 ends on page 17. I honestly would keep reading this. I'm wondering what these have to hold because this just threw you right in. It's absolutely intriguing. It makes you want to read more. You already have like an idea of the premise. It has a time travel aspect for sure, but I don't know if I would label this sci-fi time travel, magic time travel. Yeah, I don't know exactly how this works, but we've got an idea of what the rules are for this time travel, and it's very like specific to her. I also like that her partner plays a part in this. He doesn't just not believe her, and she tells him right away. You don't have the main character's like partner or whoever's with them like gaslighting them or anything like that. He watches her vanish, she reappears, and he's like, I don't understand this, but definitely something happened. They're talking about it. Communication's key. This is not a relationship video. I'm just letting you know. I appreciated that that was in there because it's so annoying when something obviously is happening and other characters are just like, no, not possible. Okay, I am not reading the second chapter right now. I'm setting it down, but this is a contender. We're starting The Wicked Deep. I got quite a few comments saying that I would like this one, saying it had Hocus Pocus vibes, saying it was a favorite, so I'm very, very intrigued and excited for this. I try and go into these with as little knowledge as possible, but enough to like spark the idea and enough to compel you guys so that you guys also know what the book is about, enough to possibly pick it up yourselves. But like, I would have rather not known in Foxhole Court, one of the main plot pieces that's on the back of the book. I won't say it so that I can, let you know, but like there's an intriguing question in the first chapter that I already knew the answer to. So instead I was just like, ah, yes, okay, waiting for it to happen versus trying to figure it out through context. And that's just a preference thing. I'm gonna start reading this book. It has little detailing on the top, and I love when chapters also have titles. I don't like just chapter 1. I prefer them to have names. Kindred also had a name. Chapter 1 was the river, and this is the sea. So great. It was only one page, and was that the prologue? Was it? Okay, so now this one says 1, but it didn't say prologue. I didn't know it was the prologue. What? I've run into a snag. So we have The Sea, which was a total of 1 page, and then we had 1, and then if you go past 1, you have not 2, but a song, which I'm guessing is 1 page, and then 2. Okay, so they're like interludes. I'm going to, in order to give fair treatment, I'm going to go ahead and start 1, even though I didn't know that was a prologue, and I feel like page 1, just with that one thing, definitely I got an idea for the atmosphere, the writing style, I got the premise of the book. Honestly, that was better than reading the back of the book, and it takes place on the coast of Oregon, so it feels local. Would have been great to actually have in Japan. Not gonna think about that right now though. I'm going to go ahead and read chapter 1 now. Yeah, the first chapter, along with the prologue, I'm glad that I went ahead and read it because while the atmosphere stayed the same, we definitely had a story pivot where the main character is obviously more modern. Now I want to look up if Sparrow, Oregon is an actual place that I didn't know of because it mentions Newport, which is an actual like beachside. So I don't know if they just tossed that in there to give it a bit of realism, because they also mentioned like Craigslist. The first chapter definitely modernized. So the prologue takes place in the past and kind of sets up our overarching like theme and story. And then the first chapter was really good. I almost want to save this until later in the month. That's what I'm thinking so far, but it also was really good and seemed really easy to read. And I love books that take place in small towns. I especially like if the small town is like a real place or based off of a real town, because you get those small town vibes, and I grew up in a small town, so a relatively small town. Obviously there's like different ranges of small. Ooh, okay. In being real, I know that I won't be starting this one today because I am buddy reading this, because we haven't figured out like how we're gonna split our buddy read up or anything like that. I'm going to sample it because there is a prologue, and because I actually remember reading the prologue in Pal's books before picking this up. So I'm going to reintroduce myself here, and then I'm going to set this one down. So yeah, I was able to focus more on the situation the person was in, because before I was like trying to get a sense of the world building. I didn't know if this character was going to be a main character or not. I don't think that they are, but they might come up later. And you just pretty much get like this cool desert scene and a character that's very mysterious, and you get to see a bit of the world's problem from their perspective, and it seems like an event is happening from an outsider perspective, which I love those types of prologues too. They can be really fun because otherwise you're just getting the main character's perspective, which can be really biased. A little bit of an unreliable narrator mixed in with an objective narrator is super great at getting a world going. And yeah, this is one I'm really highly anticipating. It's in my 5-star predictions list, so here's to hoping, but I'm not starting it today. Oh, my battery's dying. That's cool. The Beautiful by Renee Adia. Vampires and New Orleans is what I know, and that's what I'm going in with. I'm guessing that these are just 2 separate chapters, 2 separate names. I don't even know if this is a prologue. It might just be the first chapter. It's got a date, which is 1872. I don't know if this is my cup of tea or not. It's not a usual read for me, but it seemed perfect for the season, and I think a cat chose it for me. So again, watch my TBR. I still don't know if this book is one I would normally pick up, but it definitely gave me CW vibes, like CW Network. I don't know if they changed their name because I don't really watch cable anymore. It was kind of like that Vampire Diaries and the Originals type of feel for sure. It felt very much so like they were leaning into the gothic vampirism aspects of it. Point being, I definitely got that, but in a good way. I also wasn't as interested to continue to the next page as I was with some of the other books, but it did seem like a lot of fun. Like, I feel like this will be a fun, somewhat easy read, and I'm thinking that if the characters are good, it'll be one of those ones that pushes me through. Strong characters will make this a strong contender at the end of the month. Moving on, we have 2 more. Tuesday, Mooney Talks to Ghosts. I did have someone say in my comments that they really, really enjoy this book and that they don't see it talked about very much. So hopefully I enjoy it enough that I can just start shouting about it. Oh, that's so cute. This is signed. It's not signed for me. It's signed to Katie, but so it's a signed copy. That's neat. Wasn't expecting it to go there, but here we are. I'm gonna go ahead and read this first chapter. It's supposed to be kind of like ghost story, murder mystery. I don't know if there's a murder. It's just a mystery. And I think it's for a younger audience, though I can't be entirely sure. And oh, okay, so it takes place in 2006 and 2012, which seems like such an eon ago, but then that also just disturbs me because I'm like, that was yesterday. 2006 was yesterday. Let me gracefully sit up. This was a really short chapter. It was just 8 pages, and I don't even think it started on page 1. It was only 2 pages. Just started on page 5. So right off the bat, we have a haunted house, or like sentient house. It seemed like something was haunting the house, but I loved how it was described. It had like an eccentric billionaire that wanted to buy the haunted house, and he was like super excited that it was haunted. The realtor was like freaking out and being like, we can just leave and and he's like, look, the chairs are moving. He was super stoked, and so am I. Yeah, I really liked the writing style of this. It was easy to read, seemed really fun. I'm looking forward to this one. It also matches my glasses. I don't know if you can tell, but I'll zoom in. See? Moving on. My last book, Trisha Levenseller, The Shadows Between Us. I think this chick is trying to seek revenge on... This is signed too. Oh yeah, it's a fairy loot. This is the fairy loot edition. She's trying to kill the king. There's usually a good reason for it. Let's find out. I'm sorry. The first line kind of threw me off a little bit, but we're hopping back in. So this was not what I was expecting at all. The summary does say that the main character, her primary goal and objective is to kill the Shadow King, which I assumed that he was a villain or something like that. The real villain of this story is definitely our main character. That's something I know for sure. In case our villain criteria is different, she's at least a murderer. I don't know if I've read from this kind of character perspective before, but it was actually a lot of fun. Some of it was outlandish. It was so horrible. I feel like this is a woman that kicks orphans. I'm there for it. It seems like that Trisha Levenseller is really leaning into this character. I don't think that she's trying to romanticize it or like that this character is just written poorly. I think she's a villain. That was actually a really good first chapter. I have a little bit of a decision to make. I'm going to conserve battery and I'll be right back. I'm back and my battery is dying again. It died twice in this video. I have The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller and I have Kindred by Octavia Butler. These things are so different. These books, their concepts, their writing style, I don't know if they have anything in common except for that I want to read them. I'm thinking The Shadows Between Us is going to be a really easy, fun read. It seemed really easy to read. It's also pretty short. And then we have Kindred, which I think is the complete opposite. It seems like it's really deep, covers really important topics and themes. The writing style was intricate. The dialogue and descriptions were not difficult to read. I was definitely reading more attentively. It also just had a killer first prologue and chapter, and I thought about it several different times while reading the other books. So I am going to go with Kindred by Octavia Butler. I think that because this deals with topics that are really heavy and it might be more challenging to read, I can save this for later in the month when it's crunch time, I need to read a book and this is really fun and I get through it. I also want to give myself time to read this because it does have a trigger, I believe, for hangings, different context than what my trigger originates from, but it's a trigger for me all the same. So I will be hitting up some people to try and get some details on how I can avoid those. I hope that I'm not spoiled for the story in the book, but honestly, like, my mental health takes precedence over like the story's plot and everything. If you happen to have any page numbers or you happen to know you're really familiar with this book and you have a page number where you know that there is a hanging, that is something I'm trying to avoid, especially if it's incredibly graphic. So yes, Kindred, this is the book I am starting my September off on. I would love to know what book you are starting with for your September. It sounds like a lot of you are doing the same readathons I am. I know that I picked Kindred after a Becca's Bookathon roll. Again, that TBR video will do wonders for that sentence because you'll know what it means. But I would love to know, what book are you starting off with? Does it cover a prompt and what prompt is it? And I hope you enjoy your book, and I also hope you enjoy the sun or more stars wherever you are. And until next time, bye!